For privacy reasons, the names of individuals involved in this case have been changed. Stay tuned. August 4, 1981. An ordinary morning in Toledo, Ohio. Rebecca Thompson, a young, hard-working secretary, walked into the law office where she worked, not knowing that it would be the last time anyone would see her. When her colleagues arrived at noon, the office was empty. The door was locked from the inside. Her car was still parked outside. On her desk, a novel was open at the scene, describing a kidnapping. There was no sign of a struggle, no sound of a cry for help. Rebecca had vanished as if she had never existed. What really happened to her? Who had been waiting in the dark? And why, more than 4 decades later, is the case still shrouded in mystery, where every unsolved mystery contains secrets that want to be revealed? Step into the darkness and explore them with us. Don't hesitate to leave a like as an encouragement for us, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to update the most classic cases. August 4, 1981. A seemingly ordinary day in Toledo, Ohio, became the starting point for one of America's most mysterious disappearances. Rebecca Thompson, a 20-year-old woman, was a secretary at a prestigious law firm. She was known as a hard worker, disciplined, and principled. Every morning, she arrived at the office on time, worked diligently, and rarely missed work without an excuse. But that afternoon, when her colleagues returned from their break, the office was unusually quiet. Rebecca had disappeared without warning, without a word of farewell. The police quickly got involved after receiving the report, but what they found only added to the mystery. The office door was locked from the inside. Rebecca's car was parked neatly outside, and everything on her desk was neat, except for a novel that was open at the scene describing a kidnapping. There was no sign of a struggle. No one heard any screams or saw anything unusual. In just a few short hours, the young woman had vanished, as if she had never existed. As the police dug deeper into the investigation, they discovered strange signs that had gone unnoticed before. In the weeks before her disappearance, Rebecca had expressed to friends and family that she felt like she was being followed. Strange phone calls to her office worried her, but she had no idea who was behind them. A message was written on a wall near her office with the cryptic message, "I love you, Becky." GW made everyone wonder, who was GW? And was he connected to the disappearance? The case quickly became the focus of the entire community. Locals were stunned by Rebecca's mysterious disappearance, while the police struggled with a case full of contradictions. No clear motive, no witnesses, and no leads to follow. Although her whereabouts have never been found, theories about what happened to Rebecca continue to arise, from a meticulously planned kidnapping to a conspiracy related to her work. More than 4 decades on, Rebecca Thompson's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, leaving the big question unanswered. What really happened to her that fateful day? Rebecca Thompson was born in 1961 into a devout family in Toledo, Ohio. Her parents, who were deeply religious, raised their daughter according to strict moral principles. They described Rebecca as a well-behaved, gentle girl who always followed discipline and never caused any trouble. Since childhood, she lived in a disciplined environment, taught obedience and responsibility. Rebecca not only possesses a beautiful appearance with golden hair and bright eyes, but she is also known for her gentle, hard-working personality. Friends, colleagues, and acquaintances all commented that she is a trustworthy person, always ready to help others. She has no criminal record, does not participate in bad relationships, and shows no signs of being involved in any troublesome problems. Her life seems to revolve around family, work, and religious faith. At the age of 20, Rebecca was working as a secretary at a prestigious law firm, a job she had held for a considerable period of time. Her job was not too stressful, but it required carefulness, meticulousness, and responsibility. She always came to work on time, was rarely absent, and was highly regarded by the lawyers in the office for her professional attitude. Her colleagues did not recall any time she complained about her work or showed any conflict with anyone. However, it is worth noting that in the weeks before her disappearance, Rebecca had shown unusual behavior. She began to appear anxious, even fearful, as if she were being watched. Some people close to her recounted that, during that time, Rebecca repeatedly mentioned feeling that someone was observing her from afar, although she could not clearly identify who it was. She also received some strange phone calls at the office, but never disclosed the content of these calls to anyone. One particular detail that made her disappearance even more suspicious was a mysterious note that appeared on the wall near her office. It read, "I love you, Becky. GW." No one knew who GW was, and Rebecca never mentioned him. Despite this, she continued her work as usual, not sharing much of her worries with her family or friends. It seemed that she did not want to bother anyone, or simply did not believe that anything serious could happen. But then, on the morning of August 4, 1981, she went to the office as usual, and that was the last time anyone saw her. A few weeks before her disappearance, Rebecca Thompson began experiencing strange events that increasingly worried her. It all started with mysterious phone calls at the law office where she worked. At first, she ignored them, thinking they were just wrong numbers or harmless pranks. But gradually, they became more frequent. Every time she picked up the phone, there was only heavy breathing or long silence on the other end. And then the call was abruptly disconnected. No words were spoken, no identities were confirmed. Just eerie silence. These calls made Rebecca increasingly afraid. Sometimes, she even hesitated to answer the phone when it rang. Each time, she felt an invisible fear surrounding her, as if someone was watching her every move from afar. But she couldn't figure out who it was, and this made her even more confused. Not only her colleagues, but also Rebecca's parents noticed a clear change in their daughter. From a cheerful, lively girl, she gradually became quieter. She went out less, always avoided unnecessary conversations, and often looked around as if she was on guard against someone. Many times, when shopping or walking on the street, she felt like someone was watching her from afar. But every time she turned around, she didn't see anyone suspicious. Her anxiety grew to the point that one evening, she confided to her mother,
"I feel like someone is following me everywhere."
But when her mother asked further, Rebecca just shook her head and didn't want to say anything more. Maybe she didn't want to worry her family, or maybe she felt it wasn't worth worrying about. Despite her anxiety, Rebecca still tried to continue working as usual. She still went to the office every day and still completed her work meticulously as usual. She had no idea that August 4, 1981 would be the last day anyone would see her. August 4, 1981 began like any other morning for Rebecca Thompson. She left home to go to the law office where she worked, following her usual routine. She was on the morning shift that day and would work alone for a few hours before her colleagues arrived at noon. No one knew that this would be the last time anyone would see her. When Rebecca's colleagues arrived around noon, they immediately noticed that something was wrong. The office was unusually quiet, with no sign of any activity taking place inside. What was even stranger was that the front door was locked from the inside, a rare occurrence, as Rebecca had no reason to lock herself in when working alone. They called her name and knocked on the door several times, but received no response. When they finally managed to open the door and enter, the sight before them shocked them. The scene was full of mystery. Rebecca's car was still parked outside, indicating that she had not left her workplace in her personal vehicle. Inside the office, everything seemed normal, with no signs of a struggle or a fight. No furniture disturbed, and no bloodstains. However, upon closer inspection, Rebecca's co-workers noticed some strange details. The novel she was reading was open to the page describing a kidnapping. This raised the question, was this just a coincidence, or had Rebecca left a message on purpose? Rebecca's call log was blank that day. Normally, she would record incoming calls, even unimportant ones. But that morning, there was not a single entry. This led the police to suspect that either Rebecca had not had time to write anything down, or someone had intentionally erased the evidence. A cup of coffee was left untouched on the desk, not spilled or left in a hurry. This suggested that Rebecca had not been prepared to leave voluntarily when she disappeared. The police were called immediately, but they could find no clear signs of what had happened. There were no witnesses who saw her leave or being forced by anyone. No unusual noises had been reported that morning. Rebecca Thompson seemed to have disappeared into thin air, leaving behind a series of unanswered questions. The mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Thompson has led to various theories from the police, the media, and the public. With no clear evidence of a kidnapping or crime at the scene, the investigation has become complicated, and many different lines of speculation have been put forward. One of the most frequently mentioned theories is that Rebecca was abducted by a stalker. Before her disappearance, she had repeatedly expressed her concerns to her family about being followed. She even told her mother that she felt someone was following her, but could not identify who it was. In addition, the mysterious phone calls at her office in the weeks before her disappearance added to the suspicion. Rebecca had received many calls in which the other end of the line was filled with only breathing or eerie silence. Were these calls threats from the kidnapper, or was it just a coincidence? In addition, the mysterious inscription on the wall near the office, "I love you, Becky," by GW raises the question, who is GW? Is this someone who has been pursuing Rebecca and has decided to take action when he failed to win her affection? Although the office door was locked from the inside, it is still possible that Rebecca accidentally opened the door to a stranger, possibly a client or someone she knew. If so, what happened next? There are two possibilities in this hypothesis. Rebecca was restrained and forced to leave without leaving any trace of a struggle. Since there were no signs of a struggle at the scene, she may have been threatened with a weapon or some other trick that made her unable to resist. The attacker may have used another escape route, such as the back door or some secret exit, and then locked the door from the inside to distract the police. However, if the intruder intended to attack or kidnap, why was there no sign of a struggle? And if Rebecca left with him, why was nothing seen that morning? Some investigators have considered the possibility that Rebecca was the victim of a criminal organization. Toledo, Ohio, was not a city unfamiliar with organized crime at the time, and unsolved disappearances were not uncommon. If this was an organized kidnapping, the mastermind could have been watching Rebecca for a long time, knew her work schedule, and picked a perfect moment to strike. The lack of witnesses who saw anything unusual suggests that the plan was well thought out. However, the question is, why was Rebecca targeted? She had no connections to the criminal world, had no conflicts with anyone, and there was no indication that she had been threatened before. Another theory, though less mentioned, but still raised by some people, is the possibility that Rebecca disappeared on purpose. According to this theory, she may have planned to leave for some reason, perhaps due to pressure, fear, or wanting to escape something in her personal life. The fact that the book was open to the page describing a kidnapping may not have been a coincidence, but a clue she intentionally left behind. However, there are some points that are not reasonable in this theory. Rebecca did not take anything with her, from her handbag to her identification documents to her car, all of which were intact at the office. If she intended to leave, she would not have left all of her belongings behind. There is no indication that she was having trouble in her personal life. Her family, friends, and colleagues all confirm that she did not show signs of depression or wanting to run away. No one has heard from her since her disappearance. If she left on her own initiative, there should be some trace or clue left behind. So, although this hypothesis cannot be completely ruled out, there is no strong evidence to support it either. The investigation into the mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Thompson began on August 4, 1981, when her co-workers discovered that the office door was locked from the inside and there was no sign that she had left of her own accord. Police quickly arrived at the scene, but they found no obvious clues to explain what had happened. Despite mobilizing a team of experienced investigators, the case quickly hit a dead end. Theories were put forward, but there was no concrete evidence to determine exactly who had abducted Rebecca under what circumstances she had left, and whether she was still alive. At first, the police focused on unusual details at the scene. The office door was locked from the inside, but there was no sign of anyone escaping through a window or fire escape. The novel opens to a page depicting a kidnapping, raising questions about whether this was a message Rebecca intended to leave behind, or whether it was just a coincidence. The phone log page was blank, despite Rebecca regularly recording incoming calls. This raised the suspicion that someone had intentionally deleted an important call that day. The police conducted fingerprint checks and collected samples from the office, but the results did not turn up any suspicious signs. There were no bloodstains, signs of a struggle, or any evidence that Rebecca had been attacked at work. This led them to ask, had Rebecca been lured out of the office voluntarily? An important part of the investigation was to look for witnesses or security camera footage. However, in 1981, surveillance cameras were not common, and there were no cameras in the area around Rebecca's office that recorded anything unusual. Police interviewed dozens of people, including co-workers, friends, family, neighbors, and people who frequented the area near the office. Several witnesses said they saw Rebecca arrive for work that morning, but no one saw her leave or see anyone suspicious enter or leave her office. A single witness reported seeing a man standing near the office that morning, but when he was described, his features were too vague to identify him. During the investigation, police also noticed an important detail: the strange phone calls Rebecca had received in the weeks before her disappearance. She had told her mother that every time she picked up the phone, she heard only breathing or silence. Could these calls be related to the disappearance? In addition, police also examined the mysterious words "I love you, Becky" by GW on the wall near her office. They searched the records, but found no one with the initials GW directly related to Rebecca. Was this a warning, a threat, or just a message from a one-sided admirer? Despite efforts to trace the anonymous call, at that time, phone number tracing technology was very limited, and it was impossible to determine who made those scary calls. Although the police did everything they could, from investigating Rebecca's personal relationships and checking hospital records and missing persons lists to expanding the search to the surrounding areas, there was no trace leading to her whereabouts. The case dragged on for years, but no new clues emerged. Rebecca's family still hoped that she was alive, but as time went on, that hope faded. The case eventually became one of the most mysterious disappearances in the city of Toledo, with a series of unanswered questions. The police never closed the case, but after a long period of no progress, the case fell into unsolved status and was gradually forgotten. Despite the passage of time, Rebecca's family has never given up hope. Her mother once shared with the press,
"I don't know if she's alive or not, but I know one thing for sure. She didn't disappear without a reason. I will never give up on finding the truth."
They hired private investigators, participated in TV shows about mysterious disappearances, and even offered a large reward for anyone who could provide valuable information. However, all they received in return was a terrifying silence. Rebecca's friends also expressed their heartache. A close friend once said,
"We grew up together. I can't believe that Rebecca could disappear like that without leaving a trace. We need answers."
The disappearance of Rebecca Thompson is not just a sad story about a young woman who disappeared, but also one of the most haunting mysteries in the history of unsolved disappearances. Her disappearance, without a trace, shocked the local community and captivated investigators, criminologists, and even amateur investigators for decades. Although many theories have been proposed, from an organized kidnapping to a mysterious stalker to the possibility that Rebecca voluntarily disappeared, none of them have enough convincing evidence to confirm what really happened on the morning of August 4, 1981. Unanswered questions. Was Rebecca abducted from her office by a stranger? Or did she leave voluntarily, but then find herself in an unexpectedly dangerous situation? Was she murdered and her body never found, or was she still alive, starting a new life somewhere, far from everyone who knew her? The police have examined hundreds of leads, but none have been strong enough to explain Rebecca's disappearance. Some private investigators believe that organized crime may have been involved, while others believe that Rebecca may have gone missing for reasons no one knows about. But if that's the case, why didn't she contact her family or friends? To this day, Rebecca Thompson's name remains one of the most mysterious disappearances in American history. Decades have passed, and there has been no clear breakthrough in the case. The case files remain in police databases, waiting for new evidence to surface thanks to modern technology, or for a witness to finally come forward. Will this mystery ever be solved? Or will Rebecca Thompson's case be forever forgotten, becoming one of the classic stories of people who disappear without a trace? Whatever the answer, one thing remains certain. The truth is still hidden somewhere, and those who loved Rebecca will never give up searching for her. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this story and want to dive deeper into more intriguing mysteries, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update